Paddy Pimblett has had some cool moments over the last few years, but the Count Michael Bisping isn't impressed. Yep, he had some words of advice for the Scouser. He believes Paddy needs to humble himself. And honestly, who better to give the young fighter some advice than Bisping?
Thank you if you're still watching this video because the light's not the best and stuff. I appreciate you.
He made a lot of mistakes in his day, and for a long time, he was the bad guy people rooted against. And now Paddy's gone from being one of the most loved guys in the game to someone all the fans want to see getting KO'd. And as the guy said, it's easy when you're a younger fighter to let the fame get to your head, but the court of public opinion always brings you right back down to earth. Yep, this is exactly what happened with the Scouser too.
Do a little bit of what's it called? IP tracking. I'm gonna track
the fans are letting him know exactly what they think. We can all see the hate this guy is getting, and even though it looks really bad, Bisping's advice is pretty solid. If Pimblett humbles himself a bit and just goes out there and wins his next fight, the MMA world will forgive him. Because after all, if the fans weren't quick to forgive, we'd all still be hating on the Count, and he wouldn't be so well loved.
And hurt him a little and backed him off. All night, Gordon found a home for his left hook on Paddy.
Still, what did Paddy even do that led Bisping having to ask him to slow it down? It all started with his beef with Ariel Helwani, and it was bad, guys. I'd be lying if I pretended this wasn't some cringe-worthy stuff, so brace yourselves.
It doesn't feel right here. I think it was probably a bit of a bad judgment on his side.
The UK-based star's debut year was going pretty amazing in the beginning, and he skyrocketed to insane levels of fame. The hype train was unreal, and well, that happens when a fighter gets famous. That's right.
Walking Paddy down, mixing in his striking and grappling. But Gordon did seem to be getting
They get interviews, lots of interviews. And outside of Rogan, one of the biggest names in MMA journalism is Ariel Helwani. And this is not necessarily a guy you want to pick a fight with as an up-and-comer. Anyway, for some insane reason, Paddy decided to do a podcast episode where he had Dana White on and they trash talk Helwani together. Now, not only did this make the Liverpoolian look like a sellout, things got worse when Helwani pulled out the receipts and made him look like a fool. The guy claimed he was asked to leave some paid interview to be on Helwani's MMA Hour.
I'm sure he's stumbling there a little bit because he's biting his lip. You know, that's not his style.
But in reality, he'd been begging the journalist to have him on. Paddy's big ego got in the way though, and he wanted payment for an interview. Yeah, this crazy huge ego demand is one of the reasons Bisping said what he said, but like I said, it's not the only reason. The actual event that caused everyone to start talking about this guy's ego was what happened at UFC 282. Paddy won a controversial win against Gordon and refused to be humble. Again, this was just a cringe fest of an ordeal, and I'm sure everyone watching was just shaking their heads in disappointment. The judges gave...
He cooked him again. That not gonna hurt him though. You know he's gonna be comfortable here.
Paddy versus Gordon to the Scouser, and to be honest, it was a bad call. I mean, Gordon won. Everyone in the MMA world, from DC to Rogan to Bisping to Lionheart, all of them were saying the same thing. They scored the fight as a clear win for Gordon. But guys, we can't blame a fighter for a bad decision by the judges, but man, Pimblett's refusal to be humble afterwards was insane. Joe Rogan was in the octagon doing the post-fight interview, and he said that it was a close fight while he was trying to ask another question. And in an extremely bad display of sportsmanship, Paddy cut him off and declared it wasn't a close fight at all. Honestly, the ego on this guy is insane.
What, just big people fight to the night or what? Hey!
And just like Bisping said, Pimblett needs to open his eyes, lower his head, and get to work. He needs to be humble and destroy his next opponent to win back the fans. Paddy is definitely in a tough spot and his ego is out of hand for sure, but if we look at some defining moments from across his career,
Pimblett, it was a battle of two prospects.
Everything we've seen from him recently starts to make sense. And when speaking of defining moments from the star's career, there are just a few we have to mention. The insane win he pulled off at Cage Warriors 78 is at the top.
Weight limit 141 3/4 pounds. His professional record.
It was a doozy. The guy was up against the Frenchman, Johnny Frichet, and he didn't hold back at all. Yeah, the Frenchman was destroyed within the first 95 seconds, and Paddy walked away with the Cage Warriors featherweight title.
Fighter. Look at that. Get right. Paddy. Oh my goodness.
He showed off his insane striking and knocked Frichet down, finishing him with a flurry of punches on the ground. And with such dominant wins, especially at the championship level, it's no wonder this guy's ego got to where it is now. But as I said, this is only one of many, guys. There are other defining moments of this man's career that we need to mention as well.
There it is.
Like the time he lost the Cage Warriors featherweight title. High and low points together make up the defining moments of any fighter's career, and this was a low point for sure. Fellow Brit Nad Naramini exposed all the holes in Pimblett's game and completely outclassed him. When his striking wouldn't work, the baddie tried to switch up to grappling, but again, his opponent completely controlled him.
Didn't quite have the full extension to drive it, and there's the flying triangle. He's got the angle.
It was a huge moment, and it's one the Scouser should look back on. I mean, nothing was working for the guy, and his careless striking was punished by Naramani at every turn. We got a front row seat to seeing how impatient the Scouser can get.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing, you little fart. Go and sit back down.
But all the fans were hoping he'd learn from this and bounce back. And the guy did improve, but there were other important moments in his career where he continued to display this impatience. His UFC debut is one of these moments.
Keeps talking about me for clout. You know what I mean? That's all he talk about me for. They're never gonna have a fight with.
The fight was against Luigi Vendramini, and this time things went how Paddy wanted them to go. He was so good that he ended up impressing Dana. Now, on the downside, this attention from the head honcho probably contributed to the ego situation. Still, it was an amazing fight. And the Scouser once again showed off his undeniable skills like he did when he initially won the Cage Warriors title. He cut down Vendramini in the first round with phenomenal striking and ended the bout at 4 minutes and 25 seconds of the first round. But like I said, guys, his impatience still caused him some trouble. He got caught by a pretty nasty left hook that wobbled him. He got the job done, but unfortunately, somehow, impatiently walking into left hooks would become a staple for Paddy. And this impatience would be on display once again during the most recent and maybe the most important moment in this fighter's career.
Because it's just killing too many men, lad. No one's doing nothing about it.
I'm talking about his bout with Jared Gordon. Now, I've already covered how this was a robbery and Pimblett refused to show any humility or just accept reality to any degree, but this was also a defining moment of his career because it showed us just how little the guy evolved. I mean, he's skilled, sure, but we saw him make the same impatient moves he's been making since his Cage Warrior days, and he learned nothing from his debut because he walked into a left hook after left hook, and Gordon punished him for his impatience. Let's hope he learns this time because this guy does have insane potential. And this has been some of the most defining moments from Paddy Pimblett's career and the amazing advice the UFC legend Michael Bisping had for him. We'll see you in the next video.
Due to a rear naked choke,